everybody. Michelangelo Badio here. It is the 4th of July, Independence Day in the United States. And I know it's a holiday here, and even the people at Sawtooth are off today, but I thought, I'm in town, let's rock. Hey, Denny, how are you? Juan, how are you? And Sawtooth is having a huge July 4th sale, which is, hi Roxana, how are you? And anyway, Sawtooth is having a big sale that corresponds with the Independence Day and weekend. So if you go to their retail site, which is godpsmusic.com, godpsmusic.com, you can check everything out. Hey, Jenny, how are you? I see Y Diggy. Hey, man, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. Maybe I did it right. John, how are you? Joel? But anyway, one of the things that I think about on July 4th is all the shows that I have done over the years. It's been pretty crazy. This is one of the days where I even did a show playing my double guitar with the Special Olympics. And it was in Chicago, and it was, there's a microbrewery called Goose Island, and they sponsored the event. So I figured out a version of the United States national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, with my double, and I played it live. And I'm laughing because it was a crazy day. It was super hot. And I had an iPad that I was using. I played that, and then I was doing some tracks. And it was so hot, the iPad froze. Not froze, but it stopped playing. It just turned into a brick. And so I had to improvise a little bit, but it's just one of many shows I've done. Now, I'm playing one of my prototype guitars. I keep this guitar in my studio. Now, my studio's in my house. It's below ground. So it's cold here all the time, which I like it because metal generates a lot of heat. And so what I like to do is this guitar's down here all the time. I use this on tour, even before COVID. It's been a fantastic guitar. One of my, the first signature series, the Sawtooth M24s. And I have to admit, it's acclimated to this. Once I tune it up and it's in concert pitch. Hey, Nick, how are you? Happy 4th. I've got to say hello to a couple people here. Nick is a good friend. I've known Nick for a long time. Great guitar player. Plays one of the double guitars, too. And Philip, how are you? And we were just talking about drum programs. Philip asked me a couple questions about them. Yeah, great looking guitar. Yeah, it is. It's really cool. Anyway, I love playing this. It's in concert pitch. Perfectly in tune. That's why I like Sawtooth so much. Sawtooth is exploding. We are sponsoring a lot of big venues now in the LA area. We work with KLOS, the classic rock station. A lot of young upcoming bands are starting to come to us, and they want to use our instruments. And speaking of that, I'm going to introduce somebody a little later today that's an up-and-coming guitar player, and I've known his family for a long time, so I'll do that a little bit later. But first, I want to say this. There is a sale going on. You go to the Sawtooth retail page, which is, there's 3 components to Sawtooth. There's Sawtooth guitars, basses, drums, percussion, and then there's ChromaCast, the parts company, where you can get any kind of stand, guitar pick, you name it, it's available. And it's a huge company in its own right. And then they have the retail division, which is Go DPS Music. They have they had a retail shop in Southern California. That's how I first met everybody a long time ago. I did a workshop there, And I walk in, I'm like, and it was in kind of an industrial part of LA. And I thought it's in the Thousand Oaks area, which is a really beautiful area. It still is in California. They're in Newbury Park. So anyway, I walk in and I only see like 20, 30 chairs. I'm like, this ain't going to be a big clinic, man. I'm like, oh, okay. And so, I'm kind of preparing myself mentally for, a small crowd and not something that I was normally used to playing in workshops. And so what happened was all of a sudden, I see the chairs and I'm like, okay, this is cool. All right, it's going to be a small workshop. But then I see them setting the video cameras. And I'm like, well, what is this? And so it was the first time I did an online workshop. We had thousands of people online. Then they posted it. We had over 250,000 views just on one workshop. And I realized back then, this is something that's brand new. It's cutting edge. And Sawtooth's retail part, Go DPS Music, was doing it. And they don't have the retail store, but they as a physical music store, but we still have it online. Now I saw somebody had a question, something about music school. Can you back it up, Adam? It was a pretty interesting question. Oh, can you explain concert pitch for the uneducated? Okay. Concert pitch means the pitch that's kind of standard if you're going to play a concert, more orchestral music. What they mean is A440. And when somebody says, well, what is that? Where do you come up with A440? That's A440. What does that mean? 440 vibrations per second. That's how they determine pitch. In other words, a note vibrates so many times per second. And so then we calculate, okay, that whatever that note is, that's 440. So we've assigned it the letter A. We said that's an A note. And so each pitch has different vibrations per second. And so when you say concert pitch, what it means it's standard tuning today. See, because there was really not much else besides concert pitch before we started thinking more in terms of rock and roll. Like let's tune it down a half step. So. So what happened is we would tune a guitar down a half step. And so we would play. So we would play in an E position, but it would sound like, instead of, it would sound down a half step. And so we started using the phrase concert pitch to mean that this is standard A440. Now, the interesting thing is, a long time ago, centuries ago, they really couldn't dial in, what is A440. So a lot of times symphony orchestras would be maybe A441, A442, and they felt too that a little bit sharp would add brightness to the sound. Now, whether it does that, I don't know, but that's what it is. Okay, somebody said, how do you get so fast at picking with your we can? We can. Interesting thing, because I made a study of this. That's why my instructional programs have done so well over the years. Speak Hills, the methodology is sound. What I said a long time ago, still relevant today, and it's going to be relevant decades from now. It's not really about your stronger we can. My stronger we can is which is why I can go so fast that way and do the all that stuff. But what I did was I also realized too that you're only as strong as the weakest link. And I knew that being right-handed gave you an advantage in the picking department if you're going to play a guitar right-handed. I'm a lefty in a right-handed world. I had to play guitar right-handed when I first started off. Guitar is one of the only instruments on the planet that gives you the ability to play right or left-handed. So anyway, what I did was this. I started studying other guitar players, and you know, I've said this many times in different live streams, but what I did was one of the biggest things that helped me get over the hump was to figure out what was important and what wasn't. And so a lot of things that people say that are important, like I'm gonna, you know, I told myself I wasn't gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it. I ran across some guy that I've never heard of in my life saying that he didn't understand how I could use a tremolo pick, you know, tremolo technique, which is this, and calculate the notes per second. It's his thinking, like, and I get this, and here's one of the things. There are so many great young guitar players out there now, and there's a lot of guitar players giving lessons. I get it. And there are a lot of really great teachers. But there's one thing that I've never done in my life. I've never looked at another guitar player and said like things, well, that's not the way you should do this, or that's not, especially when they're famous. Now, I've taught a lot of famous people. I'm pretty well known myself. What I said about tremolo picking is as accurate today as it was when I said it. See, because this person got it all wrong, and maybe he's trying to sell lessons, but he didn't understand the concept, and I do. And the concept is pretty simple. PPS, potential picking speed. What is your potential? If you run as fast as you can in a straight line for 40 yards or 50 yards, not 50 yards is 100, and you know, it's, so you think, you know, 150 feet. So it's pretty close to 50 meters, not quite 39 inches for a meter. But anyway, if you run as fast as you can in a straight line, you have to kind of figure that's the potential that you have for running as fast as you can run. That's what you're trying to do. So what don't people understand about if you do a tremolo pick on one note, you're giving yourself a guideline as to how fast you can play, your PPS. Where I think the person got off base is they think that everything that you're supposed to do from that point on has to be exactly like the way you play this. But let me tell you one thing. If I do this, and I want to equate that to notes, I played that whole passage exactly like I did a tremolo. Now here's where things change. Sweep picking is a little different mechanism. You have to use your pick a little differently. Or if you're doing legato. So it's, or economy picking. Ending with some legato. So there are, and I've used this term and this kind of metaphor a lot. Think about broad brush strokes. That's when you look at that tremolo. But if you want to do really detailed work and you're using a smaller paintbrush, you move your pick a little differently. So a lot of things that I've already talked about in Speak Hills and my instructional programs are still as valid today as they were when I said them. And the reason is I made the study. And so when people ask, well, how was I able to play as well right-handed, knowing that my right hand was not my dominant hand, is I made this study. You know, I looked at it and I said, well, what's important? How do I get the speed that I want? And I was born fast. I mean, I just could play fast when I was a kid, but I analyzed it. And I realized when you do a tremolo, what you are looking at is how you play. You're looking at the mechanism of your hand on those strings, and you're saying to yourself, okay, this is how I can play really fast. So you use that as a template. And that's what I was saying on this. So if anybody says, oh, no, that's not the way, or they don't understand it, I agree with them. They don't understand it. So anyway, let's see. Let's take another question. How fast can you pick with your left compared to your right? About the same. I'm really fast left-handed. The thing that's so different is, and I've been practicing left-handed a lot more, you know. I'm not using one of my left-handed guitars, but the main thing is I have more of a riff vocabulary with my right hand because I've been playing my whole life. I keep hitting the switcher. But anyway, the idea is that I've been playing longer right-handed, but left-handed, I've made a concerted effort to really shred on it. And if you watch the new double guitar video, when I kick into left hand, it's ripping. And we did it live, so it's not fake. Okay, hail from Morocco. Let's see. Let's take one other. Okay, what topics do you recommend to start Neoclassical? Neoclassical. I mean, listen to Neoclassical riffs. My song, No Boundaries. What do I do? Yngwie Malmsteen, the 80s is filled with classical riffs. Even Slash wrote a song using, that classical part. And not classical in the style. See, when you talk about different styles of music in orchestral works like Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, the classic era was Mozart, it wasn't Bach. And so really what we're talking about when they say neoclassical, it's more Baroque. And so Johann Sebastian Bach, for example, so that is the Baroque era. And I would say probably the most important scale for that style of music is the harmonic minor. I mean, when you hear about George Benson. I like George Benson a lot, but the one I only know a couple songs from him, but one of them is Reason. One thing that George Benson was really great at was octaves. And I love him. He's one of my favorite guitar players. Okay, anyway, I think it's time to introduce somebody. I want to introduce a young guitar player. His name is Vince Lawrence. And like I said, I've known his family for a long time, his mom. And she's really creative too, as well. And so, very artistic person. Her son is very artistic. And so, let's see. Hey, Nathan, how are you? Anyway, Vince, why don't you come in, say hello. Okay.
Am I on?
All right. So, yeah, now there's a little time delay on the monitor.
Yeah.
All right. This is Vince Lawrence. Vince, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how, how old you are, how long you've been playing guitar, what your interests are in music, what kind of style.
Well, I'm 16 years old, and I'm from McHenry, Illinois, and I've been playing guitar for almost 2 years now, and I just recently got my first bass, and I'm just looking for a band right now.
Yeah, I like Primus.
Yeah.
Somebody wrote Primus sucks, but you know what? It happens. In
like
fact,
the thing.
I saw one thing that's really interesting. I saw this guy, this kind of, I don't want to say it, he's just not a handsome man, and he had like 10 computers, and all this guy did is post negative comments. He loved to feed off the energy of other people. And I thought about that. I mean, what kind of person does this? Because you said you like Primus. Primus sucks.
Wait, they said Primus sucks? I think that's like their thing that they say at their live at the concerts.
They want to get a rise out of people, and I just think it's funny.
No, look, it's like a fan thing. Like you say, Primus sucks.
Yeah. Okay, so that's like a normal thing?
Yeah, that's like a normal
well, I
thing.
think if somebody said, well, Manowar sucks, I'd be like, well, screw you, man.
I think it's like a self-deprecating thing.
Oh, okay, I get it. All right, yeah, because I like Les Claypool. Dog will hunt. So anyway, okay, so you like metal, you play bass, you play guitar.
Yes.
Yeah, one of the reasons I wanted to bring Vince here is, when I found out he liked guitar, when you're a young person starting off, you don't really know, and nobody really knows how interested you would be until you start playing.
Yeah.
I mean, my nephew Alex, he wanted to play guitar. I got him a guitar, but he didn't take it far like you. His interests weren't really in guitar, and so, but yours are. So, you played a Sawtooth guitar first.
Yes, it's one of my first guitars.
Yeah, and then. But tell me, like, what you like now, what you practice, what you're doing.
When I'm practicing right now, I mean, I'm really just, like, learning scales and trying to get speed, It's, like, the main thing, I mean, I've learned a couple Metallica songs because, it keeps you interested, just learning stuff you want to learn,
Yes.
That's at least what I think,
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that because, Adam, the video guy, was one of my students back in the day, and I always thought a good teacher would do two things. Well, one, be impartial, but, forget that, But I always thought you should learn what you have to learn to be a better musician, but learn what you want to learn to stay interested.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's really cool. And you play bass, too. You like all the slap bass?
Yes, I love that stuff. That's, like, one of my favorite things,
Cool.
Just from Primus,
Well, Vince lives in the McHenry County area. It's kind of northern Illinois. Well, it is northern Illinois. So, and you want to get together and jam with other people.
Yeah, I've been looking for a band for months now, And I'm just starting to get good enough where I feel like, I'd be confident to actually be in a band,
That's great. Yeah, so, if there are people out there or, to get together, because I think one of the best things that a person can do from, and I've heard this my whole life and I'm living proof, get with other people and play.
Yeah.
Now, I was showing you the software and all that stuff, here in the studio. It's very easy for people to do things alone. Yeah. Nowadays, you can record it, do the drums, the bass, guitar, sing. You can have a choir. You can do "We Will Rock You," with 8,000 voices, but I think the best thing is to play with other people.
Yeah.
And you have a pretty cool the way you hook up your pedals too. Like explain some of the pedals that you like to play with.
Oh well, I love my wah pedal. I mean, I actually learned Enter Sandman just so I could play the solo with a wah pedal. That's the only reason why I learned that song. So I keep it kind of simple though, just a wah pedal and a distortion pedal, DS1.
Yeah. I mean, I think when it comes down to it, whatever decade, there's basically three sounds. I think there's clean, there's rhythm overdrive, which is it's not quite as heavy, and then it can be, and then the lead overdrive. So, but there, it's really too basic: clean distortion, and then variations of distortion and wah stuff. I mean, Kirk Hammett's a master at the wah pedal.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, he's come up with so many iconic solos. I mean, if you're gonna play. You know, he comes up with these classic, riffs during the solos that are great. Okay, so what is next for you? Like, what are you practicing right now?
I mean, I've just been practicing scales. That's like the primary thing, you know.
Is that what your guitar teacher is teaching?
Yeah, pretty much. So I mean, I know like a shape for the major scale and minor scale, but I'm still trying to learn the whole fretboard, you know.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's cool because another thing that I do too, just as a person that has so many instructional programs. If a teacher's teaching somebody, like I'm not one to like look over there and say, well, they're not doing it. Oh, well, if I was doing it, because I think every teacher has a little different way of, imparting their knowledge to people. But, the main thing is if you can learn what you need to learn and learn what you like to learn, meaning songs, I think then you're well on your way. And I can't say it enough. Learn songs, practice riffs. And you saw, when I was showing you the software, get a good drum program, even if it's it's so inspiring to play. Adam, can you hit the 185? The idea, it's just when you have a groove like that, I'm just goofing around, but that's 185. So for me, that's like in 16th notes, that's the ultra low end of the shred zone. It's barely in the shred zone. But with somebody like you that's young, that's playing, it's unlimited what you can do. I mean, my videos were out before you were born. So,
years before I was born.
Yeah, so I spent my whole life imparting this, telling people, what I learned and trying to be, as honest as I could be. And here you were born into it, so it's like a quantum leap. And that's why I wanted to, bring you on. So, we're expecting big things from you, Vince, and knowing your family. And so when you get, keep practicing some songs, make some videos. So, and I'll be happy to promote it. So is there anything else you want to add?
No. I want to ask you a question. Do you still practice with a metronome now that you have these drum presets?
Yes, but only in hotel rooms. Because on my phone, because if I don't bring my whole system with me. So what I do is a drum program is like a metronome. Yeah. But I always, so to answer your question, yes, I always practice to this. And I didn't used to when I was younger, but I like it now because it's kind of like in sports. The thing that everybody understands about sports, you get a goal, you shoot a basket, you hit a home run, it's there. We get it. But see, in music, I could write the greatest song that's ever been written. Somebody's going to go, it sucks, man, I don't like it. Yeah. Okay, because music is subjective. But music is your own feeling. But I use a metronome because the metronome doesn't lie. If it's 185, if it's 300, if it's 350, the metronome will tell. It's like a speedometer on a car. If you're going 60 miles an hour, you can see it 60. There's just and it's a definite gauge on how fast you are going or how you are playing. So yes, it's super important. So use drum software or a metronome. I prefer to use drums because I'd rather not listen to. It's not as inspiring as hearing.
Yeah, I mean, speaking from personal experience, it's not really that fun practicing with metronome, you know?
No, it isn't. I do it because it helps me, again, I immediately know where I'm at. Like, and I said this the last live stream. Sometimes if you're tired and you hear 185 beats per minute, BPM, you're like, oh man, that sounds really fast. But when I'm warmed up, I'm like, are you kidding me? That's slow. So it gives me an immediate read on how I feel versus that beat, and knowing, okay, that's the low end of it. So if I'm tired, I better get to work here. Adam, can you hit that one more time? Watch. See, to me, that's cruising. I didn't, it's like nothing. But if I'm really tired and I just flew from here to Australia, 24 hours in the air, and I put that on, I'll be like, oh my God. So that's why you need a metronome. Now, someone like you're young, 185 is going to be nothing. And so, but you need a metronome. Is there any other questions you have, or?
I mean, metronomes are great. So.
All right. Well, if you don't, let me give you just when you work on songs, release music. So now you're 16, so the social media presence, you have to be careful. But I can say this: just keep working.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've seen the way I operate. I live the way I like to live. I mean, that's just it. I don't really, it's not that I don't care what other people say. I do. No one wants to hear criticism or this, but it doesn't really faze me. I do what I'm going to do, and that's it. And, if I believe something's valid, if somebody says something to me, especially that's in my line of work, if Mark Tremonti says something to me or Zach Wilde, well, I'm going to listen, because, they're at a high level, or Joey DeMaio from Manowar, I'm playing arena. So, you have to kind of look at what is being said and who's saying it. And, as far as myself, I got this far in music because I worked really hard and I did it my own way. I don't really care what other people do. Even with Sawtooth, we really don't pay. I'm not going to say we don't pay attention to other companies, because that would be a lie. You want to see what's out there. Like if a car dealership, or, you want to see what's out there. But we do what we're going to do because we like it. And that's really the bottom line. So anyway, this is Vince Lawrence. Thank you.
Yeah, it was great to be on your live stream.
Cool. And hopefully we'll see you again shredding out. And then Adam is here, and thanks to his mom, Karen. She's here with him. And so anyway, I'm Michelangelo Badio. Have a happy 4th of July, Independence Day for the United States. See ya.